Greetings and salutations. It is I, your Lord and Savior, Lord Monarch. This time I am making a very special video, a top 10 video, the first of many top 10 videos. This video is, if you've paid close attention to the thumbnail and or the title, this is a top 10 final boss video. Now, I need you all to keep in mind this is my opinions. Um this is based off of the video games that I've played, right? This top 10 hardest final boss videos, or rather video, this is based on the video games I've played. Some of these games I've played them years ago when I was a child. Um, you know, I might get different results now if I was to go back and play the game again as an adult. But again, based off of my knowledge of games and the games I've played throughout the years as a gamer in general, this is my top 10 hardest final boss list. Um, I will not be including indie games in my top 10 hardest final boss list. I'm just going to mention um regular games made by big corporations like Nintendo, Capcom, Sega, etc. Companies like that. Big game series, not indie games. Not that there's anything wrong with indie games or that there aren't really difficult to defeat bosses in indie games, but a lot of indie games are very buggy, glitchy, and they're not exactly well put together because, again, an indie game has a tiny group of people working on the games. Um, but again, nothing wrong with indie games. Indie games, there are good indie games out there. But anywho, so here's how this list works. I am going to name the top 10 final hardest bosses, starting from the weakest to the hardest. So, starting at number 10, Pokemon Legends Arceus, Volo. Now, why is Volo a hard boss fight? Well, aside from the fact that he has three phases to the boss fight, he has a very powerful team and a balanced team of six Mons. That's his main party, his main team. Also he commands Garatina. Most people that fight Volo, they usually get their asses kicked when they fight Garatina in the second phase of the boss fight. And if you don't get your ass whooped by Garatina by the second phase of the boss fight, you're definitely going to get your ass whooped at least once or twice by Garatina origin form in the final phase of the boss fight. And if you lose, you got to start that boss fight all over again. Number 9, Pokemon Gold, Silver, Crystal, Red. Not Heart Gold, Soul Silver Red. That red is different. No. The OG Gold, Silver, Crystal Red. Now, when you beat the game, the first half of the game, if you want to call it the first half, maybe some people will probably call it like when you beat the first 75% of the game, because really the Johto run is really the majority of the game. But anywho, when you defeat the Elite Four and you defeat Lance, you start your journey in the Kanto region. By the time you make it to Mount Silver and you're ready for the big bad boss fight with Red, your Mons is either in the mid 50s, the high 50s, or the early 60s. Me, so usually what I do now, because, Pokemon veteran here, um, I will just battle the Elite Four over and over and over again until all my Mons are like, I'd say, past level 50. But years ago, when I played the game and I defeated Lance, I beat the Elite Four. I didn't level grind because I didn't know what to expect. This is my first time getting this far in the game. You know, you're excited. You travel the Kanto region. You're like, holy shit! You get 16 badges. You're in the fucking Kanto region. And then you make it to the end and you're like, holy fucking shit, is that Red? Am I literally battling Red from the Gen 1 games? And then the fucking level gap. And even if you do what I do and you level up your Pokemon to the early 50s, and then you traverse Kanto and your Mons are in the early 60s, Red, his Pokemon's level gap is still like what? 20 levels above yours? That level fucking 88 Pikachu? Or is it 88 in Heart Gold, Soul Silver, or 85 in the original Gold, Silver, Crystal? I think it's 88. Yeah, I think it's 88 in the original Gold, Silver, Crystal. And then the rest of his Mons are either at level 75 or at level 80 or 81. I think his whole team in the original Gold, Silver, Crystal is 80s. But correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm going off the top of my head. But yeah, it's like it's a really good boss fight. It's a fair boss fight, but those level gaps really fucking get you. That is a huge ass fucking level gap. And keep in mind, Red has the three Kanto starters, Charizard, Venusaur, Blastoise, in their 80s. He has a fucking Snorlax. Pikachu, If it was Heart Gold Soul Silver Pikachu where it knows Volt Tackle and it's holding the Light Ball, it's somewhat of a threat, but a Pikachu is a Pikachu. But it's at level 88, so fucking Espeon. Uh the Espeon in Gold, Silver, Crystal, that Espeon has a story to it. For whatever dumbass reason they got rid of the Espeon in Heart Gold, Soul Silver. Red has an Espeon because Red in the Pokemon Adventures manga, his Eevee had unstable cells, so it would be able to evolve um, instantaneously into Flareon, Vaporeon, Jolteon, depending on the nature of the battle. But then when you make it to the Gen 2 part of the Pokemon Adventures manga, the Eevee finally permanently evolves and it evolves into an Espeon. So, the Pokemon games is supposed to be parallel to the Adventures manga. They told a story together, they were intertwined, so to speak. So, you kind of get rid of that lore, that story, when you replace the fucking Espeon with a Lapras, but I digress. Eighth hardest boss fight, Xemnas from Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. Now, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, you want to unlock everything in the game, you're usually going to play the game on critical mode, and that's when your max health is cut in half. You take double the damage. Bosses take less damage. I think bosses have a higher health bar, and it's like when you're fighting Xemnas in Kingdom Hearts 2, he's throwing out fucking black and white lightning, and you gotta dodge the lightning. Um, there's a part in the fight where Sora gets like command grabbed and his health is draining rapidly, and you play as Riku in the fight, and Xemnas will summon clones to stop you. So you gotta play as Riku. Riku's gotta move forward and he's gotta attack the Xemnas clones with Dark Firaga. Um, if you don't make it to Sora on time and Xemnas depletes Sora's health, you lose that fight. It's a game over. If Riku loses his health before he's able to get to Sora and to free Sora from Xemnas' attack, again, that's a game over. Another part, there's a section where like Xemnas like summons like about 1,000,001 fucking lasers, and you gotta use Sora and Riku to like block the fucking laser, so you gotta constantly mash buttons on the controller. Again, if Sora or Riku, if either of them dies, that is a game over. And you gotta keep button mashing, and if you don't hit that button fast enough to block all of the attacks, those lasers will hit you and they will do a tremendous amount of damage to you. And that's not even counting the fact of the amount of phases that Xemnas has. I think Xemnas has like what, two, three phases? Can't fully remember. Again, going off the top of my head. Anywho, uh number 7, Marluxia, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories or Rechain of Memories, either or. When you fight Marluxia and Marluxia takes like this battleship like form or some aircraft. He has two phases. You do fight Marluxia 3 times in the game, but I'm not talking about the fight with Marluxia just before the final boss fight. No, I'm talking about the final boss fight where Marluxia has two phases and he looks like he's in like some kind of aircraft, some kind of vehicle. Anywho, boss fight's really difficult because number one, Marluxia will card break you many times if you don't have the right cards. You can't combo into Marluxia with your Keyblade skills. Maybe you could do like Trinity to shave off his health, assuming if you hit him. But yeah, you can't spam the fuck out of Sonic Blade. Uh, no guarantee you'll hit him with Ragnarok or Ericus acronym. Maybe you could use Blitz on him, but if you're gonna harm him, you're gonna try to basically just use the regular Keyblade command while you're trying to card break him. Also, aside from the fact that it's really difficult to hit him or the damage that he does to you, he has an attack where if he hits you, it scatters your cards throughout the field. Then you got to go gather up the cards so that you could deal damage to him again. It's a very tedious, difficult boss fight, and the fucker has two phases to his final boss fight. And again, it's like it's not easy to hit him. You can't spam combos into him. So very difficult boss fight. Boss fight number 6. Sonic Adventure 2 Final Hazard. Now, some of you guys might be thinking, well, that's a supersonic boss fight. Why is that a hard boss fight? Well, I'm about to tell you why it's a hard boss fight. So, in most supersonic boss fights, you have an unlimited amount of rings that you could collect. In Sonic Adventure 2 Final Hazard, you don't collect any rings. At the beginning of the boss fight, you have 50 rings. Both Sonic and Super Sonic, Super Shadow, they have 50 rings to start that fight. And basically, those rings represent the time that you have. So 50 rings, 50 seconds, basically. There are no rings for you to collect. Um, for the first part of the boss fight, you have 50 rings. Once you make it to the second half of the boss fight, you have 40 rings. So now you have 40 seconds to deal damage to the final hazard. The final hazard has a lot of obstacles in your way. You don't take damage from the attacks. What happens is every time you get hit, you get pushed back to the beginning of the screen, and then you got to charge your way to his weak spot to hit him. And keep in mind, you do not get an unlimited amount of rings. You have a specific amount of rings. And every time you get hit, you are constantly pushed back to the start of the screen to deal damage to him with the limited amount of rings that you possess. You run out of rings, that's a game over. You got to do the fight all over again from the very beginning to the beginning of the final hazard. I mean, not the bio lizard with shadow, regular shadow, but anywho. Yeah, so there is a trick that you could do that could somewhat buy you more time. You could go to the edge of the screen and switch Sonic with Shadow or Shadow with Sonic, and they'll have a certain amount of rings. I think they'll probably have like 30 or 20 rings or 25 rings. But again, it's like the more you do that, the less rings you have. You only have a specific amount of rings. There are no rings for you to collect. And it's very tedious to dodge and maneuver past all the obstacles of the final hazard to get to the sore spot on his body and to hit him and deal damage. Again, you have a very specific amount of rings. Once you make it to the second half of that boss fight, the fucking obstacles, the hazards in your way get fucking crazy. They get fucking crazy. And again, when you make it to the second half of the boss fight, you have 40 rings now. You got to do everything you can with that 40-second timer. It's very tedious. A lot of people don't talk about how bullshit that boss fight is. It's difficult. Um Boss fight. Let's see. Where am I right now? I would say I'm at boss fight number, let's see, Volo, Red, Zemnis, Marluxia. At number, I'm at number, I'm at number 4 now. Sonic Black Knight, the Dark Queen, where you fight her as Excalibur Sonic. Now, she's pretty tough. Now, in order to damage her, I think you gotta soul break or spirit break or whatever. That's the only way for her to take damage. So you gotta block her attacks and counter her attacks to build up your soul gauge. You take damage in that fight. You have a total of 100 rings. When I was a kid, when I played the game, I think I was in middle school. The boss fight was hard and tedious for me because it was hard and tedious for me because well, I had difficulties countering her sword swings. I think you have to swing the Wii remote just right to counter her sword swings. I had a really hard time countering that. And then she's just throwing a whole bunch of projectiles at you. And I'm trying to deflect all of her attacks right back at her. is very tedious. And it's like a whole bunch of projectiles and shit is coming at you, and you'll get hit. You'll definitely get hit. You get hit, you lose your rings, rings fall to fucking zero. That's a game over. You got to start the boss fight all over again. And again, the only way for you to hurt her is you got to soul break into her. And how do you get up your soul gauge? You got to fucking deflect and counter her attacks. That's the only way to build your soul gauge. So, very tough, tedious boss fight. And again, did that boss fight when I was like in middle school. When Sonic the Black Knight came out. Um, let's see. Number, where am I now? I think I'm at, I think that was number 5. Number 4. Number 4 is where I am right now. Yeah, number 4. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. Cackleta's Soul. Now, why is that a hard boss fight? Well, after you defeat Bowletta and Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, there's another phase to the boss fight after defeating Bowletta. Next and final phase is Cackleta's Soul. That's when Bowletta gobbles you up in her gut, or rather, Bowser's possessed body, and you gotta fight Cackleta's Soul. So you start that final boss fight with 1 hit point each for the bros. And Cackleta's Soul gets 3 attack phases. 1 attack phase from her head, 1 attack phase from each of her arms. 3 attack phases. And depending on your build for the bros and how high their level is, it dictates whether you attack first. And if you are not at a high enough level, or if your equipment is shit and you didn't like set the bros up with proper equipment, she will attack you first. It's a hassle to dodge her attacks. And again, if you get hit, you got to start that boss fight all over again. Meaning, from the last save point, the save book outside of Bowser's private quarters room, you got to go back in there, initiate the dialogue, and then defeat Bowletta all over again just to get back to Cackleta's Soul. It's a very fucking tedious as fuck boss fight. Number 3, Sigma from the original X1 game. Now, even if you get like the 2 or 3, maybe 4, I don't fully know how many sub tanks are in the game. I think there's like 3 or 4 sub tanks. But anywho, even if you get the sub tanks in the game, and you get all of X's armor parts. And keep in mind, I'm talking about the original X1. I'm not talking about the remake. I'm not talking about Maverick Hunter X. I'm talking about the original game. Because in Maverick Hunter X, you get Zero's arm parts, and you get to fire a supercharged shot, a fiery red charged shot from Zero's arm parts. Now, I'm talking about the original double laser charge shot from X. So, in Maverick Hunter X, if you get Zero's arm part, you could literally cheese the fuck out of bosses because it deals big dick damage. But X's regular supercharged shot with the double lasers, and you don't really do too much damage with that. But anywho, now the boss fight with Sigma, 3 phases. You gotta fight Sigma's pet wolf. Then you gotta fight regular Sigma. Then you gotta fight uh, Sigma's head attached to the giant wolf mech. And even if you get a hold of fighting Sigma's pet wolf or Sigma, you learn the attack patterns and you could dodge the attacks. Let me tell you something. Sigma's final phase, when his head is attached to the giant wolf mech, is hard as fuck. The only way to damage Sigma's final phase is you have to use the double beam charge shot from X. You have to charge up the X Buster that much. And again, you can't cheese it with Zero's charged shot like in Maverick Hunter X, because his charge shot does more damage. No, you need to use the double laser. And you don't always do that much damage. You really fucking don't. And you're definitely going to get hit a couple of times fighting Sigma's final phase, and you're going to take a decent amount of damage when you get hit. So obviously, you're going to have to heavily rely upon those fucking sub tanks. And if you use the sub tank even once, the whole damn thing is depleted. Second hardest boss fight I've ever fought is Tales of Berseria, Artorias, and Inominant. Now, why is that a hard boss fight, even though the character Velvet has basically invincibility frames and she could heal herself instantaneously and she's crazy with the combos? Well, the bosses have super armor. They hit really fucking hard. 9 times out of 10, your teammates are gonna be knocked the fuck out cold. So it's really just up to you, the player, to play with Velvet to really defeat one of the one of the final bosses. And you could easily fuck up and lose. In order for Velvet to activate her invincibility frames and her heal factor, she needs to get close to an opponent and then get her combos going. So it's really fucking easy for these final bosses to gain distance from you. Or while you're focusing on one of the final bosses, for the other one to get the drop on you with a magic art from a distance to knock you out when you're not in your invincibility frames and you're low on health. It's really tough. And that boss fight has 2 phases. And in the final phase, it's kind of hard to it's even harder to get Artorias fused with a Nominant Laphicet in the combos because he's floating in the air. And again, I think they upgraded his super armor at the final part of the boss fight. So, yeah, tough stuff. Be careful for when you get hit with Mystic Arts. The fight could instantaneously end if one of the characters get a Mystic Art on you. That's a definitive game over. And again, gotta start it all the way back from the beginning. Nobody really wants to do that. Now, the hardest boss fight for me, and keep in mind, this is a boss fight that I haven't even beaten as yet. I'm still in the process of trying to beat the motherfucker. Andross from Star Fox 64. And I don't mean mechanical Andross, the fake Andross when you do the easy run. No, I mean the real, genuine fucking Andross when you blow up his face and you have to fight his brain. That motherfucker is really fucking tedious because You gotta hit the back of his brain, his cerebralium. I don't know if I pronounced that properly. You get too close to the motherfucker, his brain stem will command grab you, do big dick damage, and fuck up your R wing. Your R wing gets fucked up, and it just messes how much damage you deal with the lasers and how functional the R wing flies. Haven't beaten this motherfucker yet. He is by far the most tedious, the most difficult. So yeah, that's my top 10 hardest final boss fights that moi, Lord Monarch, has ever fought. And again, I want you guys to remember some of these boss fights, they're boss fights that I played when I was a child growing up, and some of them they're boss fights that I may have dealt with recently. I'll tell you one thing, the Star Fox 64, um that's a boss fight I've done recently. The Andros Brain boss fight, and it's really fucking hard. Even for a lot of veteran Star Fox players, they have a hard time with that fucking boss fight. I really want to kick Andros's ass before I get off my hiatus and I start regularly making YouTube videos again. But yeah, like I'm curious. What's your top 10 hardest final boss fights? What kind of games have you guys have played? Feel free to let me know in the comments below. Did you guys play the games that I played? Do you agree with my opinion? Do you disagree? I'm curious. I want to know what your opinions are. I want to know what you guys think. As you could see, I am a hardcore gamer. I play all kinds of games, all kinds of franchises, all kinds of genres. And, that's what you guys are going to see as you continue to indulge my channel. I am a hardcore gamer. I play so many games. And you guys are going to see that once I start let's playing different games. But right now, we got to finish the Pokemon Legends ZA Let's Play. Think I may have figured out how to fix the recording issue, the performance of the LP of my Pokemon Legends ZA. But I hope you guys enjoyed my top 10 hardest final boss video. This is your Lord and Savior, Lord Monarch, signing off. Farewell, my loyal subjects. Till the next. Farewell, my loyal subjects. Till the next top 10 video and other videos to come.